Hello everyone, happy Friday, good morning. So another episode of meNOTpause. Today I'm talking to Paige from High Tide. Is one of my favorite stores in Melbourne CBD. It's a very cool design adult intimacy shop, and I have my husband here opposite me. At least it's not going to disrupt me while I'm doing this IG live by calling me. Um, so today I'm talking to Paige from High Tide, director of High Tide, and she co-founded the store with her partner Soren, and it's such a cool shop. If you're ever in Melbourne, please go and check it out in the CBD. I first came across this shop the second week we moved to Melbourne. I mean, of course I did. And I went in with my 11-year-old son and didn't know it was an adult shop because it looked so damn cool. And Soren was like, sorry, but your kid can't come in. I'm like, oh my God, why? And I looked around all the really cool products, all the sexual wellness products. And I thought, oh, okay. So that's how I made the connection with them. And today we're going to talk about PMDD, which Paige went through. And PMDD means Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder. So a lot of women have these symptoms, and it's actually quite... it's very severe to go through. And also early menopause, which also Paige went through as well. So I can see Paige is here already. So I'm going to try and connect with Paige. And as you know, Instagram is kind of racist towards me and is never my friend. So I'm going to try send Paige an invite. Bear with me. And if you see me doing a success dance on here, that means we've connected. All right, Paige. You might see my washing machine going off. Just ignore it. Send.
Yes.
That's our Friday success dance. Good morning, Miss Paige. How are you?
I am really, really well and excited to be talking to you today. This is really cool.
I mean, looking fine as always.
Thank you. Thanks. I have like a ring light that we use for social media. I think it's doing the heavy lifting.
Meanwhile, I've got egg on my hair, more protein, God forbid. So let's get into it. Please
Mhm.
state your full name and your age if you don't mind.
Not at all. My name is Paige Aubort and I am 36 years old.
Very young and fresh face.
Hmm.
So you were diagnosed with PMDD at age 30, which is pretty young.
Hmm.
Can you share with us your journey, please?
Absolutely. So I am 36 now, but PMDD actually, just for anyone that doesn't realize, is basically like a really severe form of PMS. So people that have a cycle will obviously go into their luteal phase every month, and during that there is your hormones shift. And I think for a long time people weren't certain about what PMDD was when that shift was happening, and people were thinking that your hormones were adjusting in a different way to other people. They still don't know the cause of PMDD, even though it affects so many people. But basically, they think that it's a sensitivity to the hormones being released, full stop. And what that can look like is severe depression, severe anxiety. It can look like severe fatigue. Your sleep gets changed, your appetite can change. You can have these like really big mood swings. You can become super irritable. For me personally, I was never really super in tune with my body in my teen years or my 20s. And I suppose if it's like the only body that you've ever lived in, then you just assume that kind of like everyone experiences life the same way that you do. But it wasn't until my late 20s, when I was 28, that I started to get really unwell. My mood swings were just awful. Like I had experienced suicidal ideation. I had this like really intense paranoia. My sleep was so disrupted. I'd always had like bad sleep, but I was getting out of bed every single night and having night terrors. And I remember going to a GP at the time, and I said to her, I don't know what's going on, but something is happening. And I know that I sound crazy saying this, but I think it has something to do with my period, because I will feel terrible, and then almost to the minute of me beginning to menstruate, or within the hour or something, I will go from being so unwell emotionally to suddenly being fine again. And I was saying, like, it makes me feel really crazy, but I think that like it has something to do with it. And the GP, she goes, like, PMS isn't real. I know. It was like, and I was like, you're right. Okay, I guess so. Like, there was just like, I don't know, even just like, what was it, 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was just like so much less discussion around it. And I just went, okay, sure, like, you're the doctor. I've always had this like very fawning tendency to be like, oh, you're in a position of power, I'm coming to you for a specialty. And so I walked away from it saying, like, okay, cool, it's not that. And then about a year later, I saw this feature on SBS, and it was about PMDD. And I remember watching it and thinking, that's me. Like, that is everything they're describing is absolutely me. And I sent it to a group chat, and I said, like, does anyone else feel like this resonates with you? And everyone else was like, nah, like, doesn't ring a bell. And I was like, this is me. Like, I can't describe it. I felt so crazy prior. And then a few months later, COVID happened. And then during the process of COVID, I ended up like speaking to my therapist and a new great GP at the time. And they both at the same time said, have you thought of PMDD? And it just kind of was just like very good timing. Again, like back then, there wasn't really resources for it. Like there wasn't an understanding of what medicine you should access or could access. Everything that you could find online was a Reddit subthread or a Facebook group. So it was very, very anecdotal. And it was also a little bit triggering, because you basically just have these like thousands of people who are so unwell. PMDD is considered a depressive disorder and like a long-term chronic illness. And it's really, really intense to just be like surrounded by all these people that are saying like, nothing's working, I can't get access to anything, and I don't know what I'm doing. And everyone's trying to like swap tips and everything, but there wasn't this very like clear through line. So for a couple of years, I just kind of, I tried to I wouldn't say self-medicate, but I tried to like look after myself in terms of drinking way less, exercising, just like trying to really lower my cortisol. Like, so I really used to love high intensity exercise, but I switched to yoga. I was just trying to do everything where I could basically like settle my nervous system as much as possible, because it often feels like when you're going through your luteal phase that there is this magnifying glass on anything in the past month that has made you feel bad. So if you've spent the last month or up to like 3 months being really, really stressed, my personal belief is that like you'll see that like exacerbated during that luteal phase. And then a few years after that, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And like unsurprisingly, PMDD is a comorbidity of ADHD or neurodivergence, so autism as well. And
Can I ask you, why did you have the ADHD test done? Is it, did you flag something, or did you think, oh, you know, because was it popular at that point that people were all testing?
it wasn't again, like it was like I remember like very early TikTok days, like people were like kind of talking about it. I got it flagged because I think for my entire adulthood, like my 20s, I had always just been like, something's not right. And when I got my PMDD diagnosis, because prior to that, I was like, I am such a happy, positive person. but then I will have these like deep depressive episodes. But I always thought it's so odd because I'm not depressed. And then when I got diagnosed with PMDD, I was like, okay, this absolutely makes sense, but life is still really difficult for me. And I just thought there's something else that's missing. Like I just couldn't put my finger on it. And I think also, yeah, I'm sure that this is the case for a lot of people, but when people went into lockdown, suddenly all of these like coping mechanisms and structures that you've put in place as a neurodivergent person, they all kind of like fall apart and fall by the wayside. And you're kind of like left with this like brain that you don't understand. It's not working in the way that you used to get it to work. So then I also sought an ADHD diagnosis. I was really lucky. I had an incredible psychiatrist. And having those two things was like putting like pieces into the puzzle. Like they just slotted in. It's obviously the first step, like, but having a diagnosis was for both things was so justifying. Like you just think that everyone else finds life this difficult and this hard. And so having those diagnoses really, really helped. Yeah.
You know what pissed me off again and again is so PMDD symptom is kind of similar to perimenopause. And to be honest, I've been doing this advocacy for almost, it's more than 3 years now. And 9 out of 10 women have told me that their GP didn't know much about it. I'm not generalizing, but a lot of GPs do not know much about perimenopause. And the first thing they do is give them antidepressant. That's the first medication, not hormones. And then they diss the symptoms. And when your first GP diss your symptoms, that really pissed me off because I can't believe she said PMS is not a thing. Like when I'm like being normal one day, suddenly I'm in so much pain and then my whole body falls apart. How is that not a symptom?
It's crazy. I think it's just like the minimizing of women and women's health and reproductive health. And it's so frustrating and it's outdated. And yeah, I think like, obviously, I think it felt double hard because it was a female doctor. And so, like you could kind of imagine if it was like an older like gentleman saying like PMS isn't real and you're like, okay, well, you don't have lived experience.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
Totally. And so, yeah, it was like really frustrating that I think it like delayed my diagnosis for sure. And that is so annoying. And I also want to say that like, I would say in the same way that people used to think that after you gave birth, only some people got postnatal depression. Now everyone's like, everyone gets it. Some people get it way worse, but everyone gets it. And I think it's the same thing with PMS. Yes, you obviously have people that have extremes like PMDD, but you also like the baseline is that people are experiencing PMS and that they're expected to like exist in this world and continue to work and raise children and be a contributing member of society 30 days of the month, when it's just like, it's just not built like that. It's just not.
Yeah, I watched my friend when I was living in London that we were supposed to go somewhere together. She was having such severe symptoms of PMS that she could not even walk. I mean, how is that not a thing? Fuck's sake, people, honestly. I mean, excuse my French, but that's just, 5% of women of childbearing age go through PMDD. Just throwing the stats out there. I mean, for those young girls who are going through this and not know what's going on, what would you say they should notice and what could they do while they're going through this?
I'd say, and as a addition to that, when we say like reproductive age, we also have to recognize that reproductive age is from 15 to 49. So this is like a huge vat of people that are just like being unseen or aren't aware of the symptoms that they should be looking for. So I think the important thing to know is that the difference between PMS and PMDD is not that you experience different symptoms when you have PMDD, it's the severity and the intensity. So some people will say, oh, when I'm in my luteal phase, which is generally, roughly speaking, roughly a week before you menstruate, some people will say like, oh, I feel really weepy, or I feel a bit sensitive, or I feel a bit sad. But for people that are experiencing PMDD, there is like a very clear shift. And that shift can look like, yeah, excessive crying, excessive, like your appetite can change. So for me, I was like a binge eater. So I would just like I would just consume so much food until it made me feel sick. I personally was so anxious. Like I used to think like, why do I feel like I'm being chased by a tiger? Like in the Sahara or like, somewhere in West Africa. I was like, this is crazy. I would think there is nothing wrong and my brain knows it. But I would, yeah, so like depression, anxiety, irritability, anger, like so much anger. And I also would say I feel like I have a really severe form of PMDD. So you don't have to have all of these things. Sometimes I think based on the DSM-5, I don't know how many you need, but you don't have to have all of them. But you can look online and like you can kind of like read off everything that there is. But I also felt like so hopeless. My self-esteem was really low, and it's just not normal. Like it's not normal. And I think the important thing to look for, or a great thing to keep an eye out for, is just really lightly track your cycle. So I used to track my cycle because obviously depending on which phase of your cycle you're in, you're going to be the most productive, or you're going to need more rest, or you're going to need to have more care for yourself. And so I would always track that roughly. But if you can just recognize like, okay, my period started on this day, my period ended on this day. Okay, a couple days later, you're like, I feel great. Like I could make decisions. I can like finish that assignment. I can like have those conversations. And then afterwards you start to feel this decrease. And if there is like a sizable shift, where you start to drop into this like hopelessness or sadness or, all these kinds of things, then I would say like absolutely look into it. And as a side note, like a lot of people are misdiagnosed with bipolar because the shift is so aggressive that you go to a doctor and you say like, I'm having this like manic lows, and then you're like, and now I feel fine. And so it's often misdiagnosed as bipolar.
Wow. So one of our listener, audience from the audience, saying you're such a great speaker, Paige, which you are. So can you run us through what medication are you on? So I also want to say that for anybody, not just women, if you go to a doctor or GP and they dish anything, change your GP. That's very key. Don't stick to someone who doesn't see you, no matter what symptoms you have, because you will find the person that suits you. So don't be afraid to challenge your doctor and change your doctor. And so what medication are you currently on?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened with the chemical menopause journey?
So firstly, I completely support everything you're saying. I have a fantastic GP at Turn the Corner in Brunswick. But every doctor I've ever come into contact with there, they treat you with so much care and respect. But I'm so lucky to have a GP now that I feel like really understands me and like advocates for me. But basically the process was you go to a GP, and then because PMDD is its own thing, essentially it's like a hormone disorder in a way. And so your GP then has to give you a referral. And so originally I went and saw an endocrinologist because they specialized in hormones, and I had to find someone that specialized in PMDD. And basically with PMDD, when it is severe enough or you like want it to stop, you basically have to stop ovulating. So you have to stop producing hormones, because if there are hormones being produced, it's the fluctuation of those hormones that affect you. But what that looks like is menopause induced by medicine, or a chemical menopause, as opposed to a surgical menopause, which is something where you have a physical procedure, surgery. In order to get there though, because it is so severe and so serious to put your body into menopause in your 30s, you have to go through the process of trying a bunch of different things. So one of them is that you get put on an antidepressant. which is so frustrating. But it's just part of the process. I think the process is really archaic and also new at the same time. So you have to go through trying antidepressants. I also had to try 2 separate pills. And they had differing levels of estrogen and progesterone in them. For me personally, taking those pills had such a severe negative impact. It really affected my ADHD medication. It gave me really bad, it basically put me into PMDD. And it's kind of tough because you have to stay on them long enough that they have a consistent like baseline. But if it's not working, then it's kind of like for 3 months, you might just be feeling terrible. And then once you kind of go through those things and you like checklist that, okay, none of those things worked, then you're allowed to introduce chemical menopause. It can be introduced your hormones can be suppressed in 2 different ways. The first is that you can take a nose spray. So people will actually use this. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but people actually take this when they're going through IVF, interestingly. And you take it in the morning. For me, I take it in the morning and night. And originally when I tested it, it worked, but it didn't work perfectly. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to have this for over a decade. So if there's a better option out there, I just want to keep trying until I find the right thing. I don't want to land on the first thing. So then you can also get injections. Firstly, the injections are so gnarly. Every time we had to find special nurses, amazing again at Turn the Corner, that actually knew how to inject these, because the consistency is of like castor oil. You're basically taking a tablet and you're breaking it down, and then you have to inject this into a site in your stomach, and it's really painful, and it's really it's awful. And the thing again is that like they say that the injection lasts 3 months. Mine weren't lasting that long. Mine were really short. So then we were trying to like take the 3-month injection but give it to me monthly. But I was like going through these like big swings and roundabouts because you're basically injecting 3 months of this stopper into you, so your body flares from it, and then you stabilize, and then it drops off, and so then you've got to go in and take another injection. So I really like struggled with it, but I did that for over a year. And then at the same time, the other component that goes back into this is obviously because I'm in menopause, I have to have HRT or hormonal replacement therapy. And so again, this looks like a lot of trial and error in terms of taking tablets, in terms of using gels on my thighs, in terms of like patches on my back, like having an IUD, taking the pill, like the hormonal pill at the same time. And it's just this like kind of slotting and picking and changing, kind of like trying to build a little model that works for you. During the process, I like absolutely had the experience of menopause. And because no one my age is experiencing, or no one in my friendship group is experiencing menopause currently, I had no reference point. Like I would wake up and my joints, my shoulder, I like couldn't move it. And it was as if I'd like whacked it into a pole or something, and I just like forgotten about it. And my joints were aching so badly. And I got really bad headaches. My sleep was super disrupted. And it's all just because you're trying to basically like tell your body to stop producing hormones, to which it first like dumps more hormones in. And then it's also you're adding back hormones, but you're trying to find the right fluctuation so that it's just this like really steady dose that your body likes. So it's been a process.
Wow, that is a lot for anyone to take. It's just crazy. It's a lot. I mean, going through perimenopause myself, it knocked me out cold straight away. I can't imagine having all these extra layers of like other symptoms on top of trying to find a way to create a medication hub for your body, which takes years. I mean,
Correct.
I was lucky to to take HRT and it works straight away within overnight. But a lot of people don't have that luxury, basically. And how much are you spending each month now?
So it's a lot. Well, I mean, it depends on what a lot is. I think I've put it up. I think about annually, it's around $2,000 on medication. And that's because some of my medication is covered by the PBS. So it means that instead of spending $35 on a nose spray once a week, I spend $25. Or, there are certain things that aren't covered for PMDD. If I had endometriosis or if I had prostate cancer, then that would be covered, but PMDD isn't. So there is absolutely access to doctors, access to specialists. Like I now see a gynecologist instead of my endocrinologist. So it's like the privilege of that access and then finding the money for it. And then, all the medication, it's pretty crazy. It all really adds up. Yeah.
Yeah. And, not to mention that. So can I ask you a personal question? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. So that means that you won't be able to have children. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm really lucky in the sense that I'm consciously child-free, and so is my partner. We have been together for 6 years, and we've never had a desire to have kids. And so we've had really big talks about how intense or how hard it would have been should we have wanted to have kids, because I think that even if we'd wanted to have children, we would have had to have adopted. I don't think that I would survive if I came off this medication. And having anything like having a child would just so aggressively affect your hormones in your body and the levels of them. And so, we were really lucky that we never had to worry about that. In saying that, despite the fact that I'm very sure, it is still really difficult to have that option taken away from you, to be in your 30s and to feel so barren in a way, and also feel so old. And I can't wait to be older. I have no hang-ups about age. But there is something about experiencing severe vaginal dryness in your 30s and having your partner having to put hormone patches on you every 3 days and having night sweats and seeing your face and your body change and not being able to have the option to reproduce is really, it feels so unfair, even if you don't want to experience PMDD and all that kind of stuff.
Because it feels like it wasn't even a choice for you at all. It's just taken away whether you like it or not, which
Totally.
is completely unfair.
Mm.
And can we talk about your partner without giving too much, private details? How should a partner, let's say, a couple, how should a partner deal with someone with PMDD? If they have extra ADHD, and how did he deal with the whole journey from the start?
Oh man, I think it's gonna make me a little bit emotional. Soren is the partner that I would wish for anyone that I ever met, ever knew, that ever had PMDD. He has been so incredible and consistent in his support for me, his support around medication. He comes to my doctor's appointments with me. He advocates for me. He recognizes that as a man in a room speaking to another man, there is a difference of power with me as a woman.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah, honestly, he is so, I don't know where I would be without him. He is just amazing. I will say that I asked him, what is something that you've experienced as a partner? And he said when I got diagnosed, he went and joined a whole bunch of Facebook groups.
Wow.
For partners and people with PMDD. And he said one of the things that he saw was as partners, they were really frustrated that the person experiencing PMDD like couldn't take accountability for their own actions, because you become a awful person. You are like so mean, and you have this anger and frustration, and you want to take it out on the world, and everyone's annoying you. And so he was saying like he feels like as a partner it's really important that if you're dating someone that has PMDD that they like take ownership of their own behavior and their actions, which I like really do try to do a lot of the time. I think in terms of being a partner to someone with PMDD, I would say like just consistency, and it's so much more about presence than like providing a solution. There is no solution. Like on my darkest days, it has been Soren like holding me and not having to say the perfect thing, but just being so consistent. And so I think like maybe it's a semblance of ADHD mixed in there, but to continuously need to hear you're not a burden, like I love you, like this is a part of you, but it's not all of you, and like a very much like a we factor. Like Soren has always been like, we will get through this, we will do this together. And that repetitiveness, because you go through it and you become so exhausted by it. So yeah, I would just say just the consistency and the showing up. And I think if you are in a relationship where, you know, there's a man and a woman, then like advocating for your partner is so important. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're making me cry.
Yeah.
I feel like my husband, Jason, who's here, are exactly the same kind of men. And, you know, because, you know, you hear stories that when a woman or any partner is ill, some people just walk away or they leave them, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really bloody hard journey to go through because you're not even yourself. And have to be in a relationship and, you know, in my case, have a child.
Correct.
And I just wish that every single person in this world have a good partner like us to help them through difficult times, because that makes it like a huge difference. That's why, you know, choose wisely, people. Who are you going to be
Yeah.
with? Choose
I
wisely.
I think, well, yeah, I think first of all, a bad partner, like quote unquote, a bad partner, an unsupportive partner, a partner that makes you feel terrible and awful is so damaging. Like it is better to be alone truly, because you can be lonely in a relationship, but it's so damaging to be with someone who like is dismissive of your experience. Yeah, I just think, I don't know how I got so lucky. I also, and I wonder if you experienced this with your perimenopause, but I felt like I was a deceiver. Like the person that Soren had met was this like young, fun, like vivacious, amazing person who was just like a go-getter. And suddenly I was like consecutively month after month, just this burden. Like I couldn't cook, I couldn't get out of bed, I was crying all the time. And also there is like absolutely space for, you know, being a partner where you're like, I get to provide and I get to care for this person in their darkest moments. But that is tiring after a year. Like that's tiring after a month. And so that was something that's always like played in my mind, you know. And Soren and I like have this like really kind, loving joke where Soren goes, you were never easy. Like, because like you didn't trick me into anything. He's like, loving you is easy, but like being in this like being with you has never been this like not a challenging thing. And I think that that's to neurodivergence, and I think that's to PMDD, but it helps with this feeling of like fraudulence. Because I imagine that when you met Jason, you're like doing all these things, and then you have a child, and then your body shifts, and you're like, oh, he didn't sign up for this. Like, you like almost want to give like permission to like leave or to change or whatever it is. And yeah, at the same time, I try to be an advocate, like as a woman for myself, to be like, it's okay that I'm changing and that I'm not perfect all the time.
I mean, I'm opposite of you. I keep reminding him how fabulous I am, even when I was going through shit. So I always say to him that you sign on a dotted line, take it on the chin, bitch.
Nice. Nice. Okay, good. Maybe I should take more of that. That's so funny.
Story. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's not easy being a woman, that's for sure. And I just wish every single person out there will really find a partner that supports them, because this is not an easy journey. So I'm taking up too much of your time. Last few things I want to talk about is, first of all, your amazing store, High Tide, in the heart of CBD in Melbourne. And in the intro, I talked about how I found your store.
Mhm.
And what I want to ask is, the message you are giving out there, what would you tell people that are a little bit intimidated to go into shops, and your shop is not like those cheesy adult shop. It
Mhm.
is like a well-designed, top-notch, like amazing design shop.
Mhm.
And it helps me to change the perspective of an adult shop, basically, because
Mhm.
it's so well designed, and it's just so, it's high end. So for people who's never been to your store, what can you say to them? That don't be afraid to explore this area.
Yeah, I would say, I think coming from personal experience and someone who's like a perfectionist, I have always been the person that's like, I need to be the most educated. I need to have the experiences before having the experience so that I can like talk and go into this shop. But like, I'm very much now, after owning the business for 3 years with Soren and seeing the thousands of people that have come in here, I'm like, do it scared, do it nervous, do it fearful, do it unprepared, do it. You are not expected to know anything, let alone everything about toys, about yourself, about your body before venturing onto this path and this journey. The whole idea is that like we are there hopefully like at the beginning to help provide that guidance and cut out all the noise and work specifically with you to find something that you want. I'd say like truly probably about 80% of the people that come to High Tide have never owned a toy before. And so, and I'm not, there is no age here. I'm saying like truly from like 20s through to 60s. And it's just so consistently people who I think feel or like have this internal knowing that there is like something on the other side of this experience, something on the other side of like buying a toy, talking to someone that knows something about it and how to use it and how to care for it and how to care for themselves, that they just like know that on the other side of this like uncomfortable awkwardness for them, there's this experience to like have better intimacy with themselves, with their partner, have like a much deeper understanding of who they are, and or like are often like looking for connection with their long-term partner, and like know that this is like an avenue that they want to explore, but they're just like so nervous about it. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, someone wrote, your store is the Aesop of adult stores, which is completely correct. So last but not least, I always tag the health minister, Mark Butler, for everything I
Mm-hmm.
do in related to women's health. What message do you want to give to our health minister, Mark, and also Deputy Health Minister Rebecca White?
Yeah, I think that we need significantly more research into women's hormonal and reproductive health, full stop. Like the way that I have had to self educate, and whenever I've talked to specialists in the field and seen them consistently and asked them for data around statistically what's it like for me if I get this surgery or what I do this thing, and they say that there is no data. It's never been researched. They can only go and give me off anecdotal evidence. I think the fact that we still truly don't fully understand the cause of PMDD, like despite how severe and life altering it is, it's bonkers. Yeah, and I think that this is like this lack of research, and that gap is everywhere. It's in the diagnosis system, it's in treatment options, it's in like our GPs and how educated they are about it, it's in awareness. Like I shouldn't have found out at 30 that I have PMDD. Like I was menstruating from when I was 14. That is an insane amount of time to go through life where you think that you are someone that suffers from anxiety and depression. And yeah, I just think that the science is incomplete. I think we just need more research, respectfully. Yeah.
100%. So,
Yeah.
Mark, please do something about that. Where can people find you?
This is my Instagram account, and then otherwise they can find us at High Tide. Our Instagram account for that is High Tide AU, and where I'm much more present there than I am here.
And your website, make sure people is high-tide, tide.com.au.
Correct.
So, Paige, it's been such an education, and it's something that I'm not too familiar with. Thank you for your time and your knowledge. And I would love to invite you back at some stage and then see how you're doing with everything else on your journey.
Amazing, and thank you so much for giving me the platform to talk about this. I'm like so passionate about it, and yeah, it's so great. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate representing the nuance that is menopause. You know, I think everyone thinks that it looks a certain way, and it doesn't. It's like full of vitality and yeah, energy, and there's so many options out there, and we just need to be educated.
Soren that he made me cry Friday morning.
Yeah. I'm like,
Thank you,
hold it. I'm like,
Paige.
push
I
it down,
will.
push it down.
Sorry?
I'm like, when you started crying, I was like, push it down, Paige.
We're not going to apologize for crying either.
Yeah, true,
Um,
actually.
Thank you very much. And I'll leave you to it. I know you're very busy, and I will try to save this. Wish me luck.
Good luck. I believe in you. If anyone can do it, it's you.
Bye, Paige. Have a lovely weekend.
See you
Bye,
later.
everyone.
Thanks
Thank you
so
for
much.
tuning in.